Hello everyone. I hope you have had a good couple of days. I definitely have. It was great meeting all of you, and I just want to say thank you again, for coming out here. I know it's a long trip for many of you, and it means the world to me, and it's really amazing to see this community come together like this, and to see everyone who's building. And a couple years ago it wasn't like this, so it's amazing. Today we're going to be talking about the future of decentralization on Cardano. The title of the talk is Incentivizing Our Decentralized Future. So my name is Peyton. I'm the co-founder of Bloom, Rare Bloom, Mycelial Gallery, and now Atrium Lab. And we're going to have a video from Atrium Lab in just a second, a quick video before we go into our talk. And then I also want to introduce Umed.
Thank you so much. Name is Umed Saidov. I am the head of staking at Wave Financial. Just a little bit of background about me. Before joining Wave Financial, I was a stake pool operator with the Cardano ecosystem. I was there since 2017. I absolutely love the protocol. I love interacting with the IOHK team, and I just simply marvel at the architecture of the protocol itself. Today we're going to talk about incentives, but before that we're going to do the video, I guess.
Yep, we've got a short video, a quick one from Atrium Lab for you, and then we're going to get right into the most exciting thing, Cardano parameters.
We are Atrium Lab. Our mission is to simplify the Cardano experience, connecting the rapidly expanding Cardano network with one user-friendly interface. To realize this mission, we are building Atrium. Atrium is an application that combines all your blockchain data and pulls information from multiple sources to aggregate its value. We are working on multiple innovative features that will incentivize decentralization on Cardano's Layer 1 and financial contract applications, and offer an alternative front end to existing decentralized applications, encouraging a fairer experience for users. Details on those features are coming soon. At the heart of Atrium sits the Atrium token, a utility token that will be issued to users and allow participation in a DAO to help shape the future of the protocol. Our ISO is coming soon. To participate, simply stake to the Atrium stake pool or one of our partner pools to receive Atrium tokens. You will be able to view your Atrium balance using the dashboard on atriumlab.io. Tokens will be distributed once the protocol is live.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that quick little snippet. We're going to be releasing a lot more information about Atrium in the coming months. But really, I want to start talking about Cardano parameters. Cardano has over 20 different parameters, but there's ones that really affect how much you're paid from your rewards, and there's ones that affect decentralization, and there's ones that incentivize decentralization over time. And the two that most people know, and I'm going to explain them very briefly, is the K parameter and the A0 parameter. The A0 parameter was designed to incentivize a stake pool operator to lock up ADA in their stake pool, and then when they lock up the ADA in their stake pool, they're going to be more attractive to their delegates, right? So that stops an operator from spreading their pledge across 5 or 6 pools. They're going to put it all into one to incentivize users to delegate to their pool over another pool with less pledge. And then the K parameter is the optimum number of stake pools on Cardano. And that's currently set at 500. We started at 150, so we've had some slow increases to 500. And what that is the saturation point. So when a user delegates to a stake pool, they want to delegate to a stake pool that is under that saturation point. Currently it's 68 million, and that's determined by the K parameter. And that 68 million number comes from the total amount of ADA in the ecosystem, so we're probably at like 33 billion now. So you take 33 billion, you divide it by that K number, and then that's where you get that saturation limit there. And if you delegate to a pool that's past that saturation limit, then everyone that is in that pool actually loses rewards, because you're not going to mint any more blocks or earn any more rewards for actually having more stake. Would you mind explaining the A0 parameter, Umed?
Yes, so A0 parameter is a way to incentivize the pool operators to pledge a certain amount of whatever amount of ADA they have in order to receive more rewards. And A0 at 0.3% basically means the pool operator that has fully pledged its pool is going to earn roughly 30% more for committing that ADA, which is a resource, to that pool, to the blockchain. So it has been put in place in order to provide security against attacks and to align interests of pool operators that otherwise may not have had enough skin in the game to basically make the security of the system more robust.
Yeah, and the intention of A0, as I mentioned earlier, was to force operators to pledge all of that into one pool so that they're attractive. But it's actually, the line for the incentive is linear, right? So if you pledge the full 68 million, then you're going to be earning 30% more rewards than the average person that's delegating to a normal pool. And most operators, we don't have 68 million ADA. Most of the stake pools that you guys are delegated to, the pledge is probably anywhere from 50,000 to 1 million, and the incentive that you're going to get from delegating to a pool with 1 million pledge is going to be that 30%, but you're going to have to look at the, you only have one of the 68 million, right? So you're going to get that, fraction with, the 30% incentive there. So, in reality, oftentimes, pledge, it seems to be meaningless with the current parameters that they're at now, because most operators are in that lower end. So when it comes to picking a stake pool, you're going to pick one, that from someone that or one that pays rewards, but the rewards are very similar, and the min cost per epoch is actually more important than pledge. So if you delegate to a pool that only has 1 million stake, there's going to be 340 ADA taken from every epoch that they min a block. And when that 340 ADA is taken, it's taken from the total pool of rewards. So since it's taken from the total pool of the rewards, and you only earn about 500 ADA for 1 million stake, most of the rewards are being taken by that min cost per epoch, right? So it actually makes sense on Cardano to delegate to a larger pool, a pool that is 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, because the more that goes up and the more that the rewards increase, the less fees that you're going to have to pay to that min cost per epoch. And I think that, for incentivizing, new businesses to come in this ecosystem, I think the min cost per epoch is a bit detrimental. However, it was put in there for a reason, and that reason was the race to the bottom. Did you know about the race to the bottom?
Yes, so early on when we were discussing the protocol parameters with IOHK, I think the Marcel from Eternal basically mentioned that these things were not even in the specs, and the 340 was introduced as a way to make sure that the pool operators, that was back in the bear market of 2019 to 2020, they wanted to make sure that the pool operators had enough to actually pay for the servers, and it was just picked. I think there was a vote on how much your server costs are, and then they went to the middle and picked that. So in essence, the 340 is supposed to basically give you an incentive to operate a pool. And we know that not everybody has the same cost structure. We are operating a global financial system pretty much. And if you were to keep it open, it's one way of looking at it. If you were to keep it open and say 0 is the minimum, then if this stake is efficiently distributed, then you could end up in data centers that are subpar, that are probably operated by people who would be happy to get a fraction of that 340. And as a result, the quality of network could suffer. Now, there's another side to the coin, and that's philosophical. You could say, hey, we want an entry point that does not discriminate against the smaller pools while we're ramping up. And if it's at 0, it would help us much better. And then the market will have to kind of regulate its the variable fee to a point where you would get whatever you need to get. So it's an ongoing discussion. There's a lot of basically contention going on. And there are CIPs, CIP 37 and CIP 50 actually that are put in place. They're being proposed to actually solve some of these problems. But I want to touch upon the K parameter actually. The K parameter was just to basically incentivize people to, in an ideal world, you would only have 500 fully pledged full pools, no matter what the pledge would be. There would be a distribution of pledge from like 100% to whatever there is. And people, rational people, even though your marginal benefit from delegating from to a pool that has very low pledge and to the one that has 1 million is very marginal, the rational person would say, okay, I like that 115 Lovelace because it's a rational thing to do. But in reality, it didn't play out like that. I mean, there's different ways to look at this problem. One is maybe the A0 was not steep enough to actually make a dent. If you're giving up 1% or 2% of your rewards as opposed to giving up, let's say, 0.01% per year, you would be more cognizant of like where you put your money. And then there's second option. The second reason is that there are pools out there that offer something in return. I mean, like the case in point is actually Peyton himself. If you produce videos, if you create content and people appreciate it, they will just basically put their money in your pool because they appreciate something more than the extra money that is generated. So as it stands right now, we have what 3,000 pools. Because the protocol does not limit the number of pools that could be created, it basically says the rational person would just basically put their money in, or put their ADA in the top 500, ranked by the profitability and by the pledge, pretty much. So it hasn't played out because there are other factors influencing those decisions. And the question is right now, how do we decentralize? How do we make sure that the network itself moves the ADA to the smaller pools so that we are decentralized, so that there's not a whole lot of basically actors that could control a lot of stake. And it's an open question. And I say that because there isn't a single way of doing things that could actually move that stake. I mean, there was what Sean McMurdo actually proposed something. Yeah, the S curve. So the S. You want to go describe that maybe?
Yeah. So the S curve was an interesting idea. Earlier I mentioned that those that pledge the full amount to the stake pool earn 30% more rewards than anyone else, and that's good because someone that actually has, like an institution that has, say hundreds of millions of ADA, they're going to pledge solely to their pools, and they're not going to set up a bunch of 10 million stake pools, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, to attract all of that stake from the wider ecosystem. So Sean's S-curve was interesting because it incentivized pledge very early on to where the rewards greatly increase, and then there's a stop, a local maxima where it goes down. And then when that goes down, that's saying, hey, this is the optimum amount that you want to pledge based on all other pledges. And then you de-incentivize the larger actors, the larger institutions from staking that 10 million there. So you essentially play both sides. You get institutions to stake and still earn the higher rewards, but the smaller end actually matters more, and then they're more rewarded at that point. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'd like to touch upon is the distribution of stake as it stands right now. We have the exchanges of the world, the Binances, the Coinbases, et cetera, that have large chunks of that stake. And you could debate about, whether it's fair or not, but it exists. It exists there. People have put their ADA in there. They probably don't care about staking because they're there to trade and, invest. So the challenge isn't basically to get those people to invest into smaller pools. I mean, let's assume that these 3 or 4 entities basically own like 6 billion ADA. There's like 27 billion ADA that's out there being delegated to all the community pools. So when the pool operators come in and they say, I'm running an infrastructure, why nobody is investing, now nobody's staking with me, I just want to drive this message home, because staking is not, even though we are running an infrastructure, I mean, if you just basically strip it down, it's infrastructure, it's a commodity. I'm producing blocks, Peyton producing exactly the same blocks. And the software is so good is that there's not a whole lot of ways I can differentiate myself and say, oh, I'm more efficient than Peyton, because everybody, basically the software is so good that everybody is in the same efficiency zone. Unless you are completely don't know what you're doing, you should be basically producing the same amount of rewards. So it's not, when it comes to staking and the way things have progressed, it's not only your expertise as a software engineer that plays a role, it's also your ability to attract delegators. And that, I've seen Atada, for instance, is a prime example. The person is a software engineer that has created a lot of following because he's been so active in the community, and he's helped so many other pool operators, including me. And he's written scripts, and he's been active. So people like him. They put their money in his pools. So a winning combination is not only running and being a great software engineer. You have to also be very perceptive to interacting with the community to gain attraction. And I will tell you that it's not only the challenge of the newcomers in the ecosystem that have that kind of hard time to get started, which I recognize. But it's a challenge of people who have been with us since ITN, but have lost all their stake because they're brilliant software engineers. They just don't interact with their stakeholders. They have lost all their stake. I mean, I don't want to mention them, but brilliant engineer has been running the pool since ITN. His pool is at 1 million or 2 million, basically, at this point. So it's not like, oh, we have this, original group of OGs that have, taken over the network, and we can't start because we cannot attract the stake. I think another good example is Growpool. I mean, he came if you put it in a timeline, he came late. But his pools are full because he engages, he offers something in return. And that's basically has been the story behind people who are very successful.
Yeah, and since the ITN, things have changed. We have smart contracts now, we have Cardano native tokens, and you can't just be a marketer or a YouTuber and garner stake anymore. It is shifting. It's shifting towards protocols. It's shifting towards smart contract staking, and it's also shifting towards incentivizing people to delegate to you for added tokens. And that has to be accounted for, in my opinion, through the game theory, because as he mentioned there before, there was really no nuance. If you're delegating to an operator that mints all of their blocks, and then they have at least 5 million and more, so you're not getting hit by that min cost per epoch, it really doesn't matter who you delegate to. And that's an issue, and that's what Pledge was supposed to account for, was increasing the rewards, increasing the desirability of pools so that users would have a limit on the total number of pools, because any proof of stake network, what is finite? What is value deterministic? If you look at a proof of work network, it's the computers. You have to buy more computers to process more transactions. On Cardano, it should be the ADA, right? But it's trickier than that, because at the same time, there are people in third world countries. Once the price, maybe if it goes up, it's going to cost more and more to have that pledge, and it's going to become a greater and greater barrier of entry for people. So, we as a community, or we as a protocol, we have to decide whether we focus on, security, efficiency, or barrier to entry. And we need to kind of weigh all of these out, because there is not a scenario where you get the best of both worlds, in my opinion. Yeah,
I would say that whatever proposals that are out there, if they don't pass the security test, they should not be adopted. Because what is essentially staking? It's providing security to a network. That's what we do. And if the proposed solution makes something better, let's say it makes something better for the small pools, but at the same time takes away from the security that we have right now, they could be up for debate, like how much security we're willing to give up. But that security question should always be there in the front of your mind, because if you earn 8% of a token that is compromised or is valued 0, it's basically 8% of 0 pretty much. So you don't want to go there and say, okay, we're going to make everything hunky-dory and basically give up on the security. I think security has to be like the first and foremost consideration for staking, choosing parameters.
Yeah, and also too, in things changing, in us having smart contracts, in us having all of these protocols launching on Cardano now, there's other ways for DevOps engineers or stake pool operators that didn't do well in the layer 1 to garner stake in, say, World Mobile, or to be a Sunday Swap scooper, or to be a validator for Milko Meta. The layer 1 staking on Cardano is really just the beginning for incentivizing essentially decentralized compute. So that's also has to be taken into the equation. So it's not the end of the world that it's not that way anymore.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that how Charlie Mungo says that incentives dictate outcome, and we can see that. We can see that in the feedback that we get as stake pool operators when the ISPOs take place. Maybe the pledge isn't enough of an incentive right now, because there are other considerations, because people think in these terms, what am I gaining up, what am I gaining? But when ISPOs come in, you could see that the promise or the expectation of getting a token that could be valuable 100 times could generate a demand so strong that people would forego 100% of their staking rewards to actually have access to this. It all comes down to how you structure your value proposition, and with the addition of layer 2 protocols, the ability to actually create more incentives is going to grow exponentially. So there's a whole lot of ways you could attract delegation into your pool and provide something in addition to just staking. It's going to be very hard for just pure staking to compete. That's how I see it going forward.
Yeah, especially as protocols start to have treasuries and they delegate or pledge them to their own treasury. In my opinion, while it does require a barrier to entry, there has to be something that makes creating a pool finite, so that a protocol doesn't garner 500 million ADA and TVL and then just keep growing and growing as they add in this more TVL, because they're and also smart contracts can pledge now too, so that even with that, even with pledge as a requirement, it wouldn't really solve the problem, because with all of that TVL, if that TVL is locked in any way, they can use some of that to pledge to the pool to keep creating more pools for that protocol to continue delegating. So
yeah, that's a pretty good description of the state of affairs. I mean, there is, I want to actually go a little bit into details with CIP50, because I think it's a very nice, cool concept. I'm still basically on the fence about its efficacy. I have a couple of questions, but in essence, the CIP50 says, well, let's basically introduce this concept of pledge leverage. So let's say if you're and keep it constant across the board. So that's one thing that it introduces. Let's say that I'm pledging 100,000 ADA, and then with the pledge leverage of 10, my pool can grow up to 1 million basically, and it cannot grow beyond that until I pledge more. And this concept is quite interesting because it incentivizes people to put all their pledge in one basket, not because they will earn more, because his curve is actually kind of flat. Whether you pledged like 10 million or 1 million, it's the same thing. But because of the fact that you save on server costs, because each node is one server, you will basically, and splitting the pledge does not make any difference, you will keep your pool, your pledge in one pool. So that's an interesting sort of take on this. And then there is, the K parameter will exist as it is. And then he basically gets rid of the minimum fee, which is 340. So anybody, and there would have to be a point where you will have to enter with some amount of ADA, and that needs to be determined, because you cannot just start a pool with one ADA and then get all and do the ISPO, get all the stake, and then start attacking the network. Because people could do that, and that's basically a security risk. So, there has to be some sort of a minimum sort of maybe fee to start a pool. And then he basically, yes, so the yield is basically flat, and you can pledge as much as little as you want. The only problem I see with that approach, and maybe I'm not right, is that there is no cap on how many pools could there be. And if I own 100 ADA or 1,000 ADA, and I can effectively go and create a pool, I could say, I don't want to pay that, whatever fees they have. I'm just going to go and create another pool, because, I can, whether my pool is full or empty, I'm getting the same amount of money. So that creates a problem in the sense that the network could grow to a point where it becomes basically untenable, and it collapses on itself. Now, you could say that there is a way to solve this, and you could say, okay, maybe we should make the K parameter a hard parameter. And I've seen it with other protocols. By the way, the Cardano protocol is very permissive. I've seen Avalanche, I've seen Algorand, I've seen other protocols that are out there. There are protocols which say, if you are on the top 100, ranked by the stake, you are in the validator list. Otherwise, you get 0. And you could probably have something like that, or maybe you could tail it off a little bit. You get, the next person gets, let's say we have 750 pools, and if you're not within the validator set, you could get like 90% of the rewards, and you have to kind of push everything up. But with CIP 50, I don't see any way of ranking things. So because the pledge has the same kind of, it has no effect in terms of like getting people to pledge with your pool. So if you put a hard stop, then how do you rank? How do you make sure who gets into that 750 set? It's much easier if there is a ranking according to the pledge. Then it makes sense, and then you would see that the stake will completely move to these 750 pools, and it will be a neat, nice network. Again, I'm not qualified to basically make a statement about how this improves or makes the security less robust. This is something that the PhDs at IOHK do. But I mean, if the goal is to basically keep everything compact at 750, maybe K parameter could be like parameterized as a hard stop.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't feel that I'm qualified to say, oh, well, CIP 50 is the solution, or K increase is the solution, or A naught is the solution. This is a very hard problem to solve, and it's going to take a lot of heads. K parameter was supposed to change to 1,000 in 2021 in March, and it never came. We've remained at 500, and I think the reason that is because without a functional A naught, increasing K does not increase decentralization as much as it should, because operators can just take their pools and split them in half, and if they have good socials, they can just say, hey, delegate to my new pool, this is about to be saturated. And however, I do think this is something that it needs to be solved, obviously not today or tomorrow, but in a short amount of time, because as the network grows, as there's more users, as there's more pools, as there's more delegates, the Cardano network should become more decentralized with the proper incentive. And if this doesn't happen early on, it'll trend towards centralization faster, like most things do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed it. This was, yeah, our goal with this was really just to, educate you guys on these parameters because it's not a fun topic. It's incentives and game theory, and it is your rewards though. Everybody loves the compounding interest from ADA, so if we get this right, the rewards will be good and we'll have a more decentralized future. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
That's good, man.